Kia ora and welcome to a Yarn Live, the Women in Data Science Series 2025. I'm your host, Ryan Ashton, and today we have a very special guest, Dana Briscoe, or Dr. Dana Briscoe, or as it says on her LinkedIn, Dana Briscoe, PhD, who is the lead data scientist from Stanford University, nonetheless. So we're getting some great global insights here. And what these interviews are about in the series, interviewing a range of the speakers who will be speaking at the Women in Data Science event on August 18th in Wellington at the Victoria University Centre for Artificial Intelligence and Research. So we're really humbled and privileged to have you on the show, Dana, and really looking forward to hearing about it. We've got some cool stuff that we'll let you raise. I won't steal your thunder, but we've got some really cool stuff coming. But let's start with an introduction. So if you could give us an introduction of yourself and your relationship to WiDS to start off with, that would be lovely. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Ryan. It's a pleasure to be here and joining you on the show today. As you mentioned, I am a lead data scientist with the Doerr School of Sustainability at Stanford University. That's in California. I do happen to live in New Zealand, so that works out pretty well for me. Yeah. But a lot of what I do, so when you think about the ocean and you think about data science, probably some people out there are wondering, what does the ocean have to do with data science? Well, we actually, the ocean is very dynamic. There are a lot of complex processes that occur in the ocean. And my particular focus is using AI and machine learning approaches to derive meaningful insights from a lot of the data that we get. And that covers everything from climate change to resource management to ocean health. And that's really sort of the integration of a lot of data for ocean intelligence, you could say. And so that's what I do as a data scientist on the day-to-day. My connection with WiDS actually goes all the way back to when I used to live in California. And well, I know we'll talk a little bit about my journey and how I got there, but WiDS has been such a core part of my professional life and the community that I have developed in my professional career. And so I'm really excited to be here today and really looking forward to the conference in a few weeks from today.
That's so awesome. It's great to hear. And, you know, we are privileged to have someone with your exposure and experience at the likes of Stanford and other places you've worked globally here in New Zealand. So, you know, New Zealand Inc. is all the better for it. Now, let's have a look at your career, because this is one of the key things that I think that the audience of Women in Data Science can really benefit from, because the purpose of Women in Data Science is to attract more women into the field of data science. So often when we look at careers and look at people, and when we go, wow, that lady Dana Briscoe is a doctor at Stanford University, which is an Ivy League big university from the US, which we know is just amazing. I could never achieve that, because they have everyone has an idea of this really straight line that has to be perfect to achieve getting into wherever it is that someone wants to get into. But we all know, everyone has their own squiggly line for whatever their career is. So the purpose of this question is to share, or it might sound a bit negative, but it's not meant to be negative, in a positive way, expose your squiggly line so other people can sit back and think, I could do this in my way. This is a great inspiration. It's a catalyst for me to think about how I could go about it. So with that, could you tell us about your squiggly line of your career and how you got to where you are now, and all the bumps along the way, or some of the bumps and some of the joys along the way?
Yeah, definitely. And not to get too technical, but it is a very non-linear path that I had, very, very much a squiggly line. And I started off, I didn't start off in data science. I'll walk it back there. A lot of my training was in environmental science, and I have a PhD in ocean science. And I think one would think that means a lot of time spent at sea and in the field, and I definitely did all of that. But there's quite a lot of physics and mathematics that go into understanding ocean sciences and the physical properties of the ocean. So as a young scientist, I was working with a lot of data and doing data science at a time when it wasn't even a field to go to school for. And I know that your guest that you had on the show last week, Ernestine Walsh, echoed those same sentiments that I think for a lot of us women who have had non-traditional entries into data science, it's really come from taking a different way in. And when we think about data science, it's really the integration of 3 different disciplines. So it's computer science, it's mathematics and statistics, and it's domain knowledge. And for me, I came in through the domain knowledge side of things. And it took quite a while to feel comfortable that I had the ability to really be able to understand the computer science and the maths and stats. And I think for quite a while, I felt I had to learn everything, every possible aspect of the field of data science. And that's a pretty tall order in itself. And so for me, it was really taking those steps to figure out, what are my strengths? What am I really interested in? And that was that's the path that took me through several opportunities, through different types of jobs, and really helped me arrive where I am today, is thinking, what is it that I really enjoy, and what is it I'm interested in, and how can I really lean into that and do something that's very meaningful, that may be only a small portion of what the whole field of data science is, but really is at the end of the day, I let that guide me with getting to where I am. Yeah.
Excellent. And look, we have had a question, or maybe it's more of a statement. So yes, it's more of a statement. Sorry, and I've just had to look up in the back end. So if I pop up the point, unfortunately, it shows up as LinkedIn user, but that happens to be Tyler Simpson. So thanks, Tyler. And I think the reference to a wicked question is the question about your squiggly line career, which you're just sharing with everybody. So hopefully that helps Tyler share with himself, or perhaps other people in his family and friends, some of the information you're sharing, so that they can get more of them into data science. So coming back to your career, where you talked about being a domain expert in oceanography or ocean studies, and then the data science, or the data, the tech side of it came after, and that was a bit of a struggle to learn. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Because I would honestly admit that I have been trying for 30 odd years and never quite got into tech, in that, coding, and I imagine there's some coding in there, getting down into the basics, SQL queries and elements like that. Could you share a little bit about the practical elements of what the data science aspect is, and some of the challenges? You might remember some of them, you may not, but some of them, and how you overcame them. Was it a matter of people? Was it a matter of some self-learning, going to a course?
Absolutely. I think all of the above, for sure. Yeah. So for me, there weren't any real programming or coding classes available when I was, a lot of people. It was at a time where coding software was just becoming sort of more open source and mainstream, and so I was able to access that in grad school. But a lot of my mentors and advisors were doing things. They would take the sheets of paper that you would go and run the complex codes. It would take several days to process, and they would redo it. And so for me, it was really a self-taught way into learning how to code and to program. And I think one thing that worked really well is that I really enjoyed it. I think when I think back to that time, that would be the thing that would get me out of bed every day and get straight to work, was the coding and the programming, because it's all about problem solving, and you get that real satisfaction of being able to see things work, to see those visualizations, and to see the analyses come together. And so I think with that, it was that component of the technical side, and really learning that on my own. But I think that's where women in data science has really come in for me, because I finished school and then I kind of didn't really know what to do with all of that. And where do I take the knowledge that I had, and how do I keep growing? And I think a lot of us in this field, in data science in particular, we're really curious people, and we want to keep learning things, keep learning new things. And data science just continues to evolve every day. The field gets bigger and broader, and there's so much to learn. And so I think for me, it was really about taking that self-taught avenue, but WiDS in particular provides that community to interact with other women who are going through similar challenges, whether that be technical, whether that be career trajectories, or just being able to bounce off ideas and learn as I go. It was really that support network that really helped give me that extra, filled things out for me, in addition to the technical stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and if I put it in my terms, and I guess in a bit of a blunt example, when regardless of the subject, and let's understand we're talking about the data science for you, is that we can sit in our own mind worrying, is this right? Is it, I've never done this before. Should I go this way? Should I go that way? How do I actually solve this problem? But by talking to that community and having those people around you that you can, talk to, then they can share their experience, which is exactly what you're going to do August 18th at the event and right here now. So that community is really powerful and important. And if I just touch on, WiDS has been running 8 years, and I think the stats are over 100 women speakers on data science. That's, I think, a phenomenal number considering the challenge we're facing of getting more women in and balancing the ratio. Over 1,000 attendees. So let's say it's a 10-to-1 ratio if we're thinking data, which is a good number for new people coming in and having access to experts, and the ability to ask those questions. And I think one of the things you touched on that I picked up on as you gave different parts of your answer is around the mindset. So being curious, being interested, problem solving, all of that wrapped together is kind of what is a bit of your driving force. So when you come up against that brick wall of something new that's complex and you need to learn how to do it, instead of stopping or dropping the ball and going, oh well, I'll just go and have a coffee, do something else. It's that mindset and that curiosity to solve those problems that helps drive you through those sticky situations, I guess you could put it that way. Does that sound about fair?
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Yeah.
And we've got a couple of other points, so I'll just really bring them on screen. I think one's more of a share and then followed by a question from the same person, which is the Jasmine Wilkins, or Jazz. I know Jazz. So she mentions here, personally, I've had challenges of sexism, not feeling welcome as a woman in technical spaces over the years, which did in the end drive a move away from more technical roles in the past. Well, look, this is not an uncommon problem, and my mother has experienced it. My mother's a retired CIO, and as a kid growing up, I heard the stories, which was part of my passion for why I'm involved with WiDS myself. And I know, and I think the way I look at it is it's fair to assume that every woman will have come up against some form of sexism at some point. So it's not with the good people, like say myself, but it's the bad people that unfortunately you do run into. And the next one is, on the positive note, it sounds like WiDS helps to address those situations. Can you suggest how we can best support young women to face these challenges? So there are lots of answers to that question, and WiDS is obviously a very key one. But do you have anything else that you'd like to add to how we can support young women and maybe prepare them for the expectation that there will be some horrible people that will say, pretty terrible things, but not to let that worry them? But coming from me, that's probably not the right message. It has to, what do you think? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you, and thank you, Jasmine, for raising that, because that is a real issue. And I have experienced that myself. I think especially going through a very male-dominated discipline and field. I think those things have happened, and one of the real benefits of a community like WiDS and those those outer components that propagate because of the WiDS community. And there are a lot of other communities out there that have come from the core WiDS group. Is just having that community of folks who have experienced those, who can share in those experiences and understand, and that are people to talk to and to get a little bit of a sounding board of, hey, I've experienced this. Have you experienced this, and how did you deal with it in a way that best aligned with your values and the way that you want to hold yourself in the workplace? And I think that's a really important thing. And I think for me, not having much of a strong female sort of role model support when I was coming through, and I think being able to do that now for others, for younger women in the next generation is critical. It's absolutely critical. Yeah,
absolutely. So that's a really great outlook on it. And I think one of the key things I picked up from what you said was help them address it in a way that suits their values. There's many ways that we can address a situation, from reaction to silence. And I think the last thing I'd say is we definitely wouldn't want anyone to go into isolation and walk away and not talk to anybody. That would be the worst thing. So make sure that you have a good community, a good network. And this is a good life skill in general, but especially for women in tech. So now let's move on to the next question, and this will change the flavor of the conversation from quite a serious one and addressing some serious questions to the fun of checking out the turtles. And if I'm not jumping the gun on that one, but the next question is to look at what you are going to be talking about at WiDS. Not to steal the thunder, because we want everyone to go to WiDS to hear your full presentation, but as a bit of a taster. And is that time for me to cue the turtles?
Cue them up. Yeah.
Okay. There we go. Oops. So I'm on the last slide. Let me go back to the first slide. So you can share about what you're going to talk about, and then come back to the specifics of the turtles and the images if you like, or you can guide me through to click to the next slide. Over to you. But looking forward to hearing more about these turtles and what you'll be speaking about at WiDS.
Yeah, that sounds great. I will be giving a fireside chat at the WiDS conference in a few weeks, and I will be speaking to some of the research that I do as a data scientist, an ocean data scientist. And, I think the question is, how many data scientists actually get to work with sea turtles? And so I feel very privileged to be able to spend a lot of my time thinking about turtles, working with data on turtles. And one of the really interesting things about working with sea turtles in particular is that, well, they're an endangered species, so they're very important to our ocean ecosystem. They are highly migratory, so their migrations are one of the longest migrations of any animal in the ocean that we know of. And they serve as a bellwether of change, of how the ocean is actually changing without us being able to monitor itself. The ocean is huge and it's very vast, and being able to understand how the ocean is changing over time has been really difficult. So what we have done is we are putting satellite tags on 100 baby sea turtles over the next 4 years. We're actually in year 3. And so I had the opportunity last month to go to Japan and work with the Port of Nagoya Public Aquarium and Kochi University to put 28 tags this year on these baby sea turtles. And so there's me in the photos, getting them ready, giving them their satellite tag treatment. It's a team effort. A lot of thought goes into it. And so these satellite tags, every time the turtle surfaces at the ocean, that tag sends data to a satellite, and then that data comes right back to me at my laptop at my desk here in New Zealand. And so I have lots and lots of data, volumes of data that I process every day. And it's not just where the turtles are going, but how is the ocean underneath of them changing? Temperature, food availability, a whole suite of environmental variables that we use. In this picture here, this is a photo of one of the turtles being released into the ocean and set off on their journey. And I want to thank MOL Shipping Company for their partnership with getting the turtles safely on board and in the ocean. And so we have a website called loggerheadstretch.org where you can actually go to and you can follow along with us with the turtles and their journey. We have a map that is generated from the data that we're collecting, and you can see these turtles swimming in all of different directions in the ocean. So it's really exciting, and I'll be talking a lot more in depth at the WiDS event in a couple of weeks. But definitely one of my favorite research projects that I get to work on for sure.
Absolutely, so much to unpack there.
Yeah.
Now, first of all, you mentioned there was a website that people can go and watch to track it. Would we be able to put that into the comments?
Yeah. Should I go ahead and let's see, put that into the comments, or
yeah, by all means. That would be lovely. And while you're doing that, I'll just touch on the light side. As soon as when we're doing the chat before going live, I asked Dana about the turtles from Nemo, and straight away she gave me the name of the turtle character. And this actually relates to what you said about the science aspect of it, with being the largest migratory animal in the sea. And if you remember the Nemo movie, Nemo rode was it the Southern Pacific Current?
Yeah.
It almost looked like he was in hyperspace going whoosh through the water. So how long is this migratory course that they go on? Is it right around the world? Give us some context of how big this is.
Yeah, Finding Nemo did a really good job of setting the scientific stage for what these turtles actually do. They make great use of ocean currents, fast ocean currents, which give them that boost to get across the ocean, but they're very active swimmers. And so if you think about these turtles that I work on, they hatch in Japan and they swim all the way across the ocean to North America. And they stay there for about 30, 40 years as juveniles. And then they decide to go back to Japan when they're ready to mate and lay eggs. So it's this snapshot in their life history that they undertake this huge ocean migration. And it's the equivalent, think about swimming across the Cook Strait over 400 times. And that's a one-way journey for these turtles. So your arms would get a little tired after all of that. And it's really impressive that these tiny animals can make such a big migration. Yeah. And for the longest time, we didn't know how they did it. And so part of this project that I'm working on is using the data collected from these turtles to understand how do they do it, why do they do it, and answering the age-old question, why did the turtle cross the ocean? So that's that's what we're doing.
And I thought you were going to say, why did the chicken cross the road? But I love how you twisted that to the actual meaning. So coming back to, you mentioned that the ocean's so vast, it's hard to study, but through the turtles, we can gain a lot of information from climate to their behavior and other things. Is that from the health of the turtle, or is that from the data that the box on their back collects, or both?
Yeah, both, but primarily from the data that they're collecting with this little GPS sensor that they have on their back. But we can not only collect where they're going, so essentially map coordinates, but some of these sensors have temperature readings, and we can track them as they dive deep into the ocean and see how their vertical movements are changing. And what we're learning is that the ocean is warming at a rate faster than we thought. And the turtles are telling us that because they are shifting further north to compensate. Their habitat is actually being shifted because of physical changes in the ocean. And that's the really powerful thing about turtles. It's very hard. If you can think of any other marine species that you would be able to put 100 satellite tags on and get all of this information, it would be very challenging to do that to fish or whales or anything else. So turtles serve as this really great proxy for us being able to monitor a lot of what's going on in the ocean and how animals are responding, because they're able to provide this information for us.
Yeah, this is fascinating. I have loads more questions, but I'm going to save them for August the 28th. Maybe you'll answer them in your presentation, and if not, I'll have some questions for you at the end of it. But this is so cool, and you know, I'm pretty excited to see what the information is, the data that you show in this presentation. So let's wait for more on August the 18th, and I'll just take our friendly turtles off. Oh, one last question. The red stuff, is that kind of like a protective kind of glue thing, or is that this is the red cohort and you have other colors for different cohorts? Is there anything to the red?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, it's actually the former. So it serves as a protective sort of cover for the tag, and it's essentially a biofouling agent. And what that means is it prevents other organisms like kind of barnacles and things like that from hitching a ride onto the shell and interfering with the tag. So yeah.
And look, one last question on this note. Have you thought about, or is it being discussed, is it possible to put a little camera in the front of that box so you can get the turtle view, if possible, when they surface up and the data is able to feed back? Is that something you've looked at or discussed?
That is actually the dream, Ryan. That is something that we have been on the team. We have been just itching to do, and so being able to get the funding to put some little video cameras, some critter cams they call them, on the turtles would just be amazing. Yeah.
So all you international camera and GPS and telco vendors out there listening, come a knocking. Dana would welcome the help to get those cameras onto the next tranche of turtles. Wouldn't it be amazing to be able to watch the view of the turtle doing stuff and have the data on the side, showing where it is, what it's doing, what they were, so you can actually almost feel like you're being there with them while you're understanding the data they're collecting. All right, curb your excitement, Ryan, and let's move on to our final question. So you've kind of touched on it through discussion, but I'm going to really highlight it because it's what we plan to do. And the question is, what is one thing you didn't have that you have in your journey that WiDS can give other young women?
Yeah, great question. I think for me, as I mentioned earlier, not really having much of a female role model or mentor myself, it was something that was visibly absent in my early stages of my career. And I think a mentor can be a lot of things. And in fact, I would suggest for folks out there, it's not just one person that can serve as a mentor. Mentors come in different shapes and forms and can provide different things. So really having several people in your life, in your community, professionally, that can help fill those roles is really important. And it's so exciting to see more women in the STEM disciplines, and that encouragement in a way that wasn't previously there. And so now I think for WiDS, it's really leaning into that mission of empowering that next generation and serving as leaders and as support systems and as mentors to others is a really great thing. And I'm so excited for the event on the 18th because we have such a suite of women who will be speaking about a lot of different things, everything from navigating your career to some lightning talks around data and the technical aspects, the social investment, AI and privacy, and so a lot more data sovereignty, and also awarding some scholarships along the way. So it's going to be a really great event celebrating everything that WiDS represents.
Well, you almost got all of the data about the various WiDS speakers into that. That's really well done. And you're right, it's a really diverse range. So we've got a bunch of super experienced women at the top of their game, and there's a range of up-and-comers that are coming through. So it'll be a really good mix because, of course, the word diversity probably explains it all and everyone understands what I'm getting at, is that one speaker who may not make a thought ping for a viewer, there'll be another speaker from a different angle, and it will. So if it's not one, it will be another, and that's the beauty of all the different speakers, and especially the range of experience, the range of subjects. It is really going to be the great place to be on August 18th. If you even have an inkling, or even if you don't have an inkling that data science is something you might like, come along and find out, because that could very quickly tell you. And often we don't know what we don't know. So, of course, there could be some amazing potential data scientists out there who are looking at other careers that weren't even aware of what data science was. So, huge opportunity. So with that, I'd like to invite you to share any final thoughts around the event, what you'll be talking about, anything at all that is, your sign off to today's interview with you.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to thanks again for the opportunity to join you today and to join everyone on the podcast. And I want to echo what you said about the WiDS event coming up, and give a huge shout out to Kate Kolich and team for organizing the event. Many years running now. It's been a really great event. And like you said, you don't have to be an expert in data science. There's a wide variety of opportunities to meeting new folks and networking and just getting to know some really good people in data science and AI. So everyone's welcome to come, and really look forward to seeing you all there.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Dana. I really appreciate it on behalf of myself, AFQY, and of course on behalf of WiDS. And you mentioned Kate Kolich. There's also Bing Zhu, Ivy Lee, and Kui Chen, who are the 4 ambassadors who will be interviewing on Monday at lunchtime. So if you want to tune in, and anyone else wants to tune in, this is part of a multi-interview series, and Dana happened to be second in the lineup. So thank you so much for your time today. And we'll let you get back to saving the ocean, saving the turtles, and I guess ultimately that means saving the humans as well, as a byproduct of saving the turtles in the ocean.
Yeah, busy Friday afternoon.
It is. All right. Ka kite ana. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.